Welcome to Insightful Player TV. My name is Chrissy Carew, and I'm a personal and business coach and the founder of Insightful Player. We're in for a really good treat tonight. We have Chris Brown. Chris Draft, my goodness. I was just talking to Jason Brown, so that must have been why I slipped there. Chris Draft is coming on tonight. He's amazing. And before I introduce him, I want to share a resource I just heard about. It's FamilyMovieNight.com. This Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, there's a really inspiring movie on NBC called Tackling the Past. It's an inspiring NFL movie, and I highly recommend that you check it out. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to get the popcorn going, and it's always good to have some inspiring movies where everyone in the family can get together and watch it. And so it's this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC. So, while we're waiting for our guest, I want to tell you a little bit about Insightful Player. Insightful Player is a bold movement of hope where we feature inspiring stories and programs about NFL players who are excellent role models. These role models have a story to tell. They've all been through some amazing obstacles and have become better for it. And they really want to inspire our youth and really help them learn to really respect and appreciate the value of adversity, and to really get in touch with what's in their heart and in their dreams, and really go after it and really create the life that they really want. And you know, they are just so committed to getting their message out. They're all really wonderful guys. They're humble, they're high integrity, they're under the radar, and you know, there are many more role models in the NFL than I ever knew about. And so I'm really excited to bring them to you. And you can also see their abbreviated versions of their stories on insightfulplayer.com. And just in a couple of weeks, we will have Insightful Player book is coming out, and it's listed on Amazon.com. And if you go to Amazon.com and type in Insightful Player, you'll find it. And it's loaded with 32 inspiring stories of hope. And I see our wonderful guest is here, Chris Draft. And I am just going to turn his volume up and just introduce him. Just want to make sure he can hear me before I introduce Chris. Can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Chris Draft is a former NFL player who played for 7 teams, and he's a 13-year vet. I affectionately refer to him as the Mother Teresa of the NFL because it's incredible how much he contributes to others and how he inspires others to contribute to others. He's an exceptional role model. He went to Stanford. He's an author of a book, Do You Want to Play Catch? It's a children's book, and he can tell you about that. He's the founder of the Chris Draft Family Foundation, and they have a huge impact on community projects that support youth, families, schools, civic groups, and health awareness organizations. Chris is also dedicated and very involved in a White House initiative called Let's Read, Let's Move. And he's traveling across the country as we speak, in partnering with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And if you think that's enough, he's an NFL ambassador, and he spearheads the Play 60, which we've seen, a lot of us have seen ads about on the NFL sites and while we're on the ads during the games. He'll have to tell us more about that. And he's received so many awards I can't mention them. I'll be here all night. He's been honored by his peers, the NFL industry, the communities that he's lived and played in, and again, he's Mother Teresa of the NFL. He's received so many service awards, and he's someone that's been given so many gifts, and because he recognizes that in a very humble way, he's very committed and dedicated to working on his gifts every day and sharing them with all of you. That's right. He spends his life sharing his gifts with all of you. And he's going to inspire you tonight. He's inspired me. I am so honored to have Chris Draft on the Insightful Player team. So, welcome, Chris.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you.
You walk on water, right? Well, we have so much to talk about tonight.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
My goodness, we have so many things to talk about. Everything you're involved in now. But I thought it would be a great place to start is, where your beginnings, so we can create a context and people can really get a real peek at your road to the NFL and, where you came from. So you have so many great stories from your childhood, growing up in Anaheim, and you have such great parents for role models, which is really fortunate. Not everyone has that, and that's another reason why I see you out there contributing, because you recognize that people don't have the role models that you had with your wonderful parents. And again, I just sense this tremendous responsibility for you to fill that void, and that's what you're doing all over the place. So why don't you share a couple of stories about growing up in Anaheim, California. One that I got the biggest kick out of is when your father was coaching your brother's soccer team when you were only 4, your older brother, and you wanted to be on that team. Yeah. They got permission to put you on, and why don't you tell that story, because that's really an interesting story. How Dad and Mom set you straight at 4.
Well, I think that it is definitely one of the stories that I relate quite often when I go out and speak to not just young folks, but to parents too. And the story really is, I'm 4 years old, and I was bigger for my age, and the first sport that I played was soccer. And it wasn't something, when they think of football players being able to play in the league for 13 years, they think that's something that you just dove right into, and that everything just went great, and there was no problems. And I just ran on the field, and I wanted to practice, and I just wanted to do everything that the coach said. Well, it just doesn't always work out like that, and it didn't work out that first day. My dad asked me, he said, hey, we have an extra spot, do you want to play? And I said, oh yeah, I would love to play, I want to play. And went out, walked out on the field, and he said, well, if you want to play, then you got to run a lap. Well, what do you mean run a lap? I want to play soccer. I didn't say I wanted to run laps. I said I want to play soccer. So run a lap. He said, no, I don't know. And he said, well, you know what? If you don't want to practice with your teammates, you can go sit over by your mom. And my mom being the nice and very nurturing lady that she is, when I went over and sat by her, she said, hey Chris, you either get out there with your teammates or you sit by me the rest of the season. So I'm stuck here in this decision mode. I got a couple of choices, and that is, I go out there and practice and do maybe what I don't exactly really want to do, or I sit by my mom, and I really don't want to do that. So I had to make a choice, and that choice was to go all the way in. And I say that because they made it very clear from an early age that it didn't matter how good I was. They didn't say, well, I need you to go out there and practice because you're real good. I need you to go out there and practice because you need the practice because you're not real good. No, they said, if you're going to be on this team, then you need to practice. And because I did that, because I was on that team and was ready to practice, I made that choice. And that choice was critical, and that choice is what I make consistently. It's something that I have to do. And that's really one of the big reasons why I've been able to play in the league for 13 years is because, wherever I go, those 7 teams, wherever I go all the way in. I make the choice to always be there.
Right. I remember you saying that you're all about, you're either in or you're not, and you give it your all, and that's all there is to it. And you mentioned something earlier that a lot of us fans are oblivious as the road to the NFL and what it took you guys to get there, and that a lot of people just think, oh yeah, they just walk right in on the field and they have this life of O'Reilly, and it's not so at all. And I think you talk about, you're someone that's so dedicated. You graduated from Stanford, and I remember you talking about how you had to really hit the books when you reached the NFL almost more than you did when you were in college as an economics major. Can you say a little bit about that?
Well, definitely. The NFL is not just about practicing for 2 hours a day. I mean, we actually spend more time in the classroom than we do on the football field. And when I say that to people around this country, they are always so surprised because they're thinking, what can you do with that amount of time? We're spending more time in the classroom than we're doing on the football field. And that's us as players. That's not even coaches. Coaches, they'll be in the office at 6:30 and they're walking out the door at 11 o'clock p.m. I mean, so
wow.
This game that people see, there is a lot that goes into it. A lot of studying, a lot of preparation that really, really makes this thing roll. And one of the things, again, that I'm very clear to say is that I've never stopped being a student athlete. Never stopped being a student athlete. For young folks and parents to tell their kids that, you're going to have a chance to go play ball and somehow that is separate from academic achievement is absolutely ridiculous. We study a playbook, and I know I'm on a webcam, but I'm trying to see how big, if you can see this, that big, that thick is a playbook, and it almost, if you were to look at a telephone book, it wouldn't be that far off from the playbooks that we have to know all of throughout the season. So it's not anything that you can just do. You can just walk into. It's something that you have to be ready for, not just physically, but mentally ready for, and then be willing to commit throughout every day to be able to be your best.
That's amazing. And I know a lot of you guys, in addition to that, is you have to bring all that home with you. Watch film and study the playbook. So when you go home, you're still working. And I know you, someone who contributes so much to others, Tuesdays being the day off, I know you're out there in the community giving of yourself. I don't know where you get all that energy, Chris Draft. Every time I talk to you, I want to take a nap afterwards. And I'm not a napper because you just give so much.
Well, I tell you, we talk about the game, and it's not a joke. It's not just a cliche. They say a cliche is something that they use over and over again, but it's just the truth, and that's why it's said over and over again. Is that you never know what's going to be your last play. You never know,
right.
And that's what I've tried to do is take that with me throughout my NFL career, but not just take that with me on the field, but really take that with me off the field. So on a Tuesday, I could take that time and just lay around, or I could be up doing some extra work, some extra exercise, some extra stretching, but also take that time and be out there in the communities. It's something that I'm continuing to do right now, and really set the tone for that throughout my playing career.
Right, you certainly did that, and and that reminds me of another story, how your parents really drilled this in, to really widen your perspective and take responsibility for whatever was in front of you, like walking down the street. When you'd see trash, they'd say, "Go pick that up," and you're like, "What?" Can you tell them a little bit about that? Because that was an interesting story as well.
Definitely a very, very simple point, but it's very clear, clear and simple, and those are some of the best teaching moments that you can have. And that is a piece of trash. We're walking down the street, and there'd be a piece of trash on the side of the road. It's like, man, somebody put trash on the ground, but my folks, they're looking at me like, why aren't you picking it up? And I'm like, well, it's not my trash. And then they give you that look like, did I ask you if it was yours? Or did I say pick it up? And that really translated what did they want you to get out of that? Was that regardless of where you're at, you have a chance to make it better or worse. So if we just walk by, we're actually making it worse by ignoring it. So wherever you are, it's not just if you're on a football team that you have to strive to be better, but wherever you're at, you want to strive to be better. So if you see there's something wrong, you need to be a part of fixing that problem.
Right. And so do you attribute, that kind of training with your parents to, developing the stamina and resilience? Like back when you were really young, you had experience with that whole stereotypes, black male, making erroneous assumptions about who you were. Someone that's going to get into fights, they're not going to do well in school. I mean, that's incredible, the lessons your parents taught you about, the results trump the stereotypes every time, performance rather. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that is so inspiring.
They definitely... They definitely did, and I think really the key point is not really kind of just working the trumpet, but really always asserting that to be a man, regardless of where you're at, be a man. Let your actions speak for who you are. You know, if there are certain prejudices, there's certain you know, saying ideals that people want to put on you, certain stereotypes. Well, you know what? Start checking those off the list. You stand up, you be a man, and eventually they will respect you for who you are. It might not be right away. It might take a little while. But if you stay consistent at who you are, eventually they will have to respect you for the man that you are.
So that's pretty incredible for a young kid to be able to cling to that and to go through that. So was it a vision? I mean, how did you define a man? What was it, Chris, that really kept you going? Because that does take times, like you said, to earn that respect.
Well, I think it's something that's very simple. I mean, what defines a man is really when you think of that you're in a kind of a problem situation, and you think of who is that person that you can count on, and that really tells you what that man looks like. That man is that's disciplined, that man that's responsible, that's honest, that's compassionate, that has courage, and all that's that's respectful. I mean, you see that, and it becomes very obvious, regardless of what profession that a particular person does. It is very obvious that, man, that's a good man right there. That is a good man. And I think to a person, if you have to ask them that, it's not too difficult to recognize. Now, if you just want to talk about money and certain successes, it might be a different conversation. But if you said a good man, most people can pick them out just fine.
So did you have any other role models in your life outside of your family that that you aspired to be like?
Definitely had some good folks in our community. My folks had some very good friends that really it's actually a group of their friends that my folks had now they've been married. Goodness gracious, I'm tripping on that. They've been married 38 years now, and
wow.
38 years is actually the least amount in their group. So there's folks that have been married 41, 43, 45, and so that's kind of the environment that we grew up in, was one of really a strong family, a mom and dad, very respectful of their roles, and really understand that they have to work as a team. So we didn't just see that at home, but we're able to see that with the other families that were around us, how they worked and interacted together.
Wow, that's great. It's so great. I wish every kid had that, to have all that positive influence in their lives, and that's what you're out giving to those kids now. I know, with all the work that you've done in your life with the Chris Draft Foundation, and being able to, one of the things that really impressed me, one of the many things, is that how you talk to these kids in the inner city, these underserved kids, and you talk to them, and don't expect the world to be cheerleaders for you. You need to find that within, and that has been that's an amazing message for a child to hear, and most adults don't get that, Chris. Because everyone's always looking for validation and acknowledgement, because none of us get enough of it in the world, none of us. And so how do the kids, that you talk to in the inner cities, how do they respond to that message?
Well, they definitely respond to it well, and it's just being very, very clear on helping them recognize who are the people that are in their corner. And just saying that it's not always going to be a whole bunch of people in your corner, but if you can recognize them, if you have a couple, 3, 4, I mean, sometimes it doesn't seem like there's any, but as long as you can stay focused on what is it that you want to do, what is it that you want to do, now you can kind of tune out some of those folks that are telling you, no, you can't do it, no, you can't do it. Quite often I'll have the students stand up and I say, tell me what your name is. What is your name? I want you to tell everybody in here what's your name and what is it that you want to do. And I want you to let them know so that they can hold you to that, so they can help you with that goal. When you seem like you're getting off a little bit, that they can hold you accountable and say, you told me you wanted to be an engineer. You told me you wanted to be a teacher. You told me you wanted to be a doctor, so that, that you're letting folks know that I want more than what I have right here. And again, when I'm going around, the kids are very receptive to that. And then I even share stories that really correspond in terms of with my folks. I had my folks right there with me, but with both of my folks, they had a chance to make a choice. My mom's dad passed away when she was 11 years old. My dad's dad was out running the streets. So they were able to make a choice based on, their situations and saying, we want a strong family. Neither one of them had that just mom and dad just right there all the time. So they were able to make that choice, and even though what they grew up with wasn't exactly ideal, they were able to make a choice and change it into an ideal.
That's great. So what they didn't have, they gave back. And that's often the case, is what we didn't get, we give back to the world. And if we're guided to make those right choices, which is really great. And as adults, I think we all need to put our antennas up, because sometimes kids don't know enough to even talk about what they want, And, that's something I'm really passionate about, is to promote mentorship throughout the world, for people to start paying attention to the kids in the neighborhood that are just hanging around doing nothing, with holding their heads down and, don't seem like they have a lot of life in them. We got to really watch out for those kids, don't we?
Most definitely. I'm quick to tell them I'm going to put them on the spot. I always say, I'm going to put you on the spot. But then I say that it would have been very difficult for me at that same age to stand up and say it. So I'm quick to ask them, but at the same time I'm saying, I appreciate you guys for standing up and being vocal and saying, what you want to do, because it would have been hard. It would have been hard for me to just say that, but it takes people asking you consistently, and eventually, like I said, having that good mentor right there in your life, eventually you will find what you want to do.
Right, absolutely. And that's another thing you do with the kids, is that you really empower them by challenging them to, and that you expect greatness. And I bet you some of these kids never even heard that before, or thought that about themselves. Is that what you've been experienced with these kids you've been working with?
Definitely. I mean, I think some of the standards and I guess in some of our areas, the standards are so low that we don't expect enough from them, and you can see as soon as you start to expect more, some of the amazing things that happen with our kids. And I mean, that's just really it. I'm going to tell them, say, you know what, you're better than that. You are definitely better than that. I hear you. So you'll have a young kid that introduces himself and their head is down, they're looking down, and you can barely hear them. And I say, no, that's okay. We got plenty of time for you to stand up and look at me and say your name louder.
Right.
And maybe it's a little bit louder. And I said, that's okay. Again, we're going to let you say it louder. So being able to take that time and say, you know what, you're important. You're important, and I want to know what your name is. I want you to say it clearly, and I want you to know that you're important enough to let everyone around you, let them know who you are.
Everybody, don't you love his passion? Isn't he amazing? We got to get you on the world stage. That's for sure. And speaking of which, challenging, to push further, your father did that when you were 10 on your first football team, when you were really had that, you were so determined to really show everybody your stuff and that you could do it, and boy, you got beat up physically. You were sore. What did your dad say about that? What was the message he gave you about that?
Well, I was definitely beat up a little bit sore, but I was beat up because of working so hard and working to try to prove the people and the coaches that they were wrong. And again, most of the time when someone asks you, what do you play? You play linebacker in the NFL, and they think, oh, you started at linebacker and it just happened and you were just great from the beginning. Well, the first day I came out to football, I said, man, they said, what position you want to play? And at that time, I was nice. I was a running back, and I'm fast, and I'm quick. at least I was on the field in elementary school and at the park. And I came up, they said, what position do you want to play? And I told them, I said, I am the running back, the running back. And they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they said, you're going to be a lineman. You are going to be a lineman, you are going to block, and then you're going to be a lineman on defense. I said, hold up there now. I am a running back. And so I had to prove that I was the running back. So that day I said, I'm going to run, I'm going to get it, I'm going to go, I'm going to show them I'm the fastest, I'm the quickest. You're just going to have to make me the running back. You're just going to have to. Well, when you do that, all that showing out, and it's the first day, well, you come back and later on that day and later on that night, all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I'm sore, I'm sore, I'm sore. And I had to look at my dad. I'm looking at my dad, and I'm thinking, they're not letting me play running back, and I'm over here sore. And he looks at me, and it's like, you started, you finish it, you're going to run that soreness out the next day. And very clearly, what does that mean? It says commitment. When things aren't exactly, you make a choice to go all in. It doesn't always work out how you want it, but then you have to stay committed. And if you stay committed, things will start to work out more for you. And I actually believe that my awareness in terms of football has always been improved by the fact that I actually started out as a lineman. Even though I was 10, even though I was 11 when I was playing that, those times and the appreciation of that position really helped me throughout my career.
Well, that's great. Well, that's something you're good at anyways, gratitude. And so that's really good. And the fact that your father challenged you, you're going back out there tomorrow. And so, from the stories that you share with the children, as well as from your, which relate to your own personal life, I bet you that was empowering because you pushed yourself further than you thought you were capable.
Most definitely. I really used those stories, just like I said, that my folks were very clear that I had to make a choice, and then my dad again was very clear on making a commitment, and I say those are very simple stories, but that's the real empowerment. I mean, the real empowerment of going all in, of really understanding there's going to be some rough patches, ups and downs, and you have to be able to commit to it and really be enthusiastic along the way. I don't know where I would be without my folks saying that. I mean, because I know at 5 years old, I know at 6, 7 years old, I easily could have been the kid that didn't go all in. I could have easily been the kid that said, I don't want to play, I'm going to give up, I'm going to give up. I easily could have been that if I didn't have somebody there pushing. And that's really kind of the basis of the foundation is we are empowering families so that they can be that encouragement, empowering communities so that they can be that encouragement to our young boys and girls that might be struggling a little bit and they need that little push. But also to just young men and women, and just men and women that are struggling through some of the days that just need somebody to give them a little bit of push and say, you know what, you all right, you okay, come on baby, keep on going.
Right. I think we all need to challenge each other and become more accountable. I think those are really, really, really great points. And along the road, you had another challenge back when you were at Stanford. Was it a junior? When the asthma showed up, you have severe asthma and you weren't sure if you were going to be able to play anymore. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's an incredible story as well, Chris.
Definitely had to deal with asthma throughout my NFL career, but really kind of started with it, when I went to Stanford. Asthma kind of creeped up on me and jumped up on my back and said, hold up. It took a while to really diagnose it because it wasn't just asthma. It was actually, I had enlarged tonsils and adenoids, which combined together, so you have a smaller, breathing area because of the adenoids and the tonsils, and then you combine that with asthma, and then what you have is basically just choking, which is what I was doing for most of my junior year at Stanford. And at the end of the year, we were playing in the Sun Bowl, playing in Michigan State in the Sun Bowl, and the last play that I played on defense, ran down 60 yards, hit a guy, ripped the ball out, and I was laying there and made a great play that saved our shutout, preserved the shutout. But I was sitting there thinking, I said, I couldn't catch my breath this whole game. And, football players, we're known for pushing it. We're known for always taking it to that extra step. When your body feels like it's not going to make it, you push forward. But at that moment, I really was saying to myself, I can't continue to do this. And, my folks were there to push me to go and find that answer. Well, in finding that answer, it was tonsils, adenoids, get them out. And I had a little bit of a reprieve my senior year, but then my asthma has progressed where it's gotten worse. But it's something I dealt with throughout my career. But I tell you, I wouldn't change it. I mean, I wouldn't trade it, because what it does, it makes me every morning, where a lot of people, they just get up and they get up and it's like, oh, it's sunny, oh, it's gloomy, oh, it's whatever it is. But I get up in the morning and I say, I can breathe today. It's a good day. And I mean,
wow.
That changes my whole perspective on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing. And you have to really watch your health all the time.
Definitely have to. I mean, I get a chance to talk to a lot of young kids and adults about their asthma, and one of the hardest things with asthma is that people don't want to say it. They want to kind of hide it. They don't want to show people that they have an inhaler, or they don't want to have their inhaler. And one of the biggest things that I'm able to do is just really say, I played in the NFL 13 years. I have asthma. And I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to try to push it to the side. It's just, I have it. That's a part of who I am. So it's a part of who I am. And for our young people, for some of our older folks, just accept it. Accept it and find out whatever meds that you need to take them. It's all good. Take them so you can breathe and really just enjoy these days.
Right, acceptance. That's another big piece. Whatever obstacles come your way, or if you accept it, then you can work with it, and it can work for you as well. So that's a really good point. And the Chris Draft Family Foundation, you've done a lot of work with asthma and so many other things. Can you talk about the Chris Draft Foundation? Everyone has to go to this website, chrisdraftfamilyfoundation.org. You won't believe all the things this guy is doing in his foundation. And there's some great videos to watch, and there's so many amazing programs. Can you talk to us about that, Chris? Some of your programs?
Well, the Chris Draft Family Foundation is empowering families to live healthy lifestyles. And we don't think that you can do that with just one particular thing. So our initiatives really focus on character development. What does that come down to? What does it really take to be a good man and a good woman? How are we defining success in our communities? Are we defining it by who the person is or what they have? We want to make sure it's about who they are. Our literacy leaders is, the numbers show that the education levels in America are really come back to our literacy levels. Your level of really accomplishment will come back to how well that you're able to read from an early age. In terms of health and fitness, the importance of really creating that lifestyle from the beginning. So one of the things that we fight for a lot is recess and PE in our schools. Setting an early, this early lifestyle of movement and being in shape and understanding what that feels like, making sure you're eating, make sure you're taking care of your body. And then when you acquire that information, you acquire the understanding of what it takes to be that good man. You understand what it takes to be better in terms of being educated. When you acquire the knowledge of health and of fitness, then we want you to share it. Share it. So service is always a huge piece of that says, how do we make our community better? How do you're improving yourself as an individual. You have a family around that you guys are working to improve yourself, but then how do you then spread that knowledge that you have to your community so that you can help them be better too?
Wow, you're a great life coach. it's so important, you know, that by giving back like that is the highest level of fulfillment. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And you know, everyone, please go to the ChrisDraftFamilyFoundation.org. You'll be very inspired. There's lots of videos, there's lots of stories, there are lots of tips, and I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And no ifs, ands, or buts. And I think another thing that would be interesting for our viewers to hear about is your transition out of the NFL. I know that can be really tough for a lot of players. Can you talk to us about your transition?
You
have so many activities.
Tough. I mean, I've been able to do work that I've been able to continue to do work, you know, as a founder of my foundation, as an NFL ambassador, where I actually go and speak to different colleges right now on behalf of the NFL. I've been working with the Department of Ed, with the Let's Read, Let's Move program in the White House, and it's about trying to stay busy. You know, these are things that I was working on while I was playing, knowing that at any time it could be over. Anytime, you know, I was blessed, absolutely blessed to get to my 13th year in the NFL, but it could have been over at 7. It could have been over at 4. At one point when I went to Chicago Bears and the coach said that I asked too many questions, my linebackers coach, I thought it was going to be over right then. And that was before I even got going my rookie year. So I think that's, you know, preparing consistently is helping with that, but it's still, you know, it's still a little tough transition when you know it's August and you're supposed to be in training camp. Now, in terms of my mind, I'm still thinking, you know, I think about that, but my body is over here saying, you know what, you do not need those hits. No.
No, right. You don't definitely need those hits. Well, you know, you are doing a lot of running a lot of programs right now. I mean, what does it mean to be an NFL ambassador for the Play 60? Can you share us a little bit about that? That's fascinating.
Well, it's definitely a couple of things. NFL ambassador, as an NFL ambassador, I'm actually going around to colleges and speaking to them about you know, really the idea of making it to the pros, the numbers, and really helping them with their perspective and showing them that their academic success is going to be way more central to their lives than really going to the pros. But the other part is I've been working with the Play 60 movement. That is it's a movement. It's a movement that's necessary to get our kids back into the shape that they need to be in, and just Americans back into the shape. But that's why we love the Let's Read and Let's Move part as we kind of mix it together, because Play 60 is not just about obesity. It's not just about getting folks in shape. But when we look at our kids, it is the necessary component of allowing them to be focused in the classroom. It is necessary. So that's, you know, when people look at the website and they're saying, well, where is he going? Where is he going? That is a lot of what, you know, a lot of what we're doing. Again, it's always about balance. It's a balanced approach that says, you know, we need a little of this, we need a little bit of that, and we'll be okay.
Right, yeah, it's like putting everything together, integrating, you know, versus having everything segmented and competing. The integration is so important with the balance. Mm-hmm. And I saw a great video. You know, I went to your website again, and you know, Let's Read, Let's Move, and it was the first day of summer, and getting the kids to read books over the summer, and you've been trucking all around the country to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. You know, can you tell us about that? That's really fascinating.
Well, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA's, they're just amazing places where you can really accomplish a lot, not just athletically but academically. Working with the Department of Ed, they told me that 5 books over the summer can mean the difference between just eliminating summer learning loss, which is really one of the biggest contributing factors to our gap, our educational gap. So basically, if we were able to get our kids to read 5 books over the summer, we can eliminate a lot of the problems that we're having in education right now. Well, And so when you look at a Boys and Girls Club, you look at YMCA's, these are the perfect places to keep our kids active physically and mentally. So been going around and remind them, say, man, you guys love what you guys are doing. How do we keep getting the kids excited and keep them doing more? And then let them go share that with their friends that don't have that Boys and Girls Club or don't have that YMCA or that community center. Share that with their friends. So if they don't have somebody to give them those books, man, share the book with them. If they don't have somebody to exercise with, man, go over and exercise with them.
Yeah, that whole community thing with you. I mean, about paying it forward. You work with these kids and you give them some wonderful tools and you get them to open their eyes and expand their perspective about sharing what they learn. It is fascinating. It can go viral. I mean, I saw the videos of those kids jumping up and down. They were so excited, about reading 5 books, and they were really little kids. That's a wonderful thing you're doing for our youth.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris, it's amazing.
And it's funny because we have a lot of kids. I mean, they will get as excited about the books that they're reading as the sports that they're playing. It's just you have to ask them, and they'll tell you. I know for our young kids, I know what the top books are. I mean, they are Captain Underpants, Diary of a Wimpy Kid always is in there. You have when they get a little older, you got a little Aragon. I mean, you really know Harry Potter. You really get a chance to know what they like reading, and you can see that it isn't enjoyable. So when you're talking about something that's enjoyable, that's something that they can do, you know that where we're at in our educational system right now, that we can push that forward at any time. We can start to make those changes, and we're never that bad.
Right. And then you have your book, Do You Want to Play Catch? And I know the proceeds go to the Chris Draft Family Foundation. That's a really fascinating book. We need to get that up on the Insightful Player website, by the way. I'll have to talk to Jeremy. Oh, you have it. Excellent.
Definitely.
I have a picture of you holding it.
I'll put it up.
Excellent. Hold it back just a little bit
me
so we
on
can see.
there,
I think we need to.
Well,
all right, we'll have to get that on
Insightful
Player website.
What it is, but I definitely have it on there. Again, I wrote a children's book. That the idea of the book is really families reading together. Really sharing the love of reading. And so, do you want to play catch? Reading together and really establishing that from an early age. But then also, do you want to play catch? Establishing movement from an early age, and by doing both, establishing a relationship together from an early age.
Amazing. You have some really key points that continue to go through all the projects you're working on. It's amazing. The whole balance thing, the community, serving others, you start something, you finish it. I mean, you have some really, really, really good points to share with not just kids, but we adults as well, of all ages. And the one thing we haven't talked about, and I would love to learn about the Chris Draft, the professional speaker. Can you tell us what you're doing with that?
Well, again, definitely, we're talking about the things that I talk to kids with when I'm going to, say, a Boys and Girls Club. But these things aren't just messages for kids. I mean, they're not just a message for them. Again, as I say, empowering families. We understand the importance of that. This is an empowerment for everyone. To be able to appreciate the day and be able to make small changes in your life and in your community. That is not a message that is just something that our kids need to hear, but really something that I've been committed to in terms of moving around the country and also speaking, being able to speak and really motivate adult groups in terms of that.
Wow, we'll have to talk about that so we can help you get some more gigs, because we got to get your messages out to adults as well. It's very important. People need to hear that. We need to be reminded. Everyone's so isolated, and your messages of community and supporting is is just so empowering and challenging yourself to push and start what you finish and share, pay forward. I mean, there can really change lives. Really, if someone just took one of your principles, that could dramatically make a huge difference in their life. So have I missed anything tonight?
I mean, this is just my story.
Right, and you know, and it's great.
I don't think
I just love how
I think it's really just the beginning.
Yeah, and Chris might be coming back on a regular basis, which we would love, you know, because you have so much to share, and you have so many great stories and some key principles that if we all adopted, you know, just one of them would really make a difference in our lives. So do you think we got it all tonight so far for our first visit with you? Do you have any parting words that you'd like to share?
Well, I think all I have to say is go check out. Do you want to play catch? Pick you up a book. Do you want to play catch? Go out and check out our website, chrisgiraffefamilyfoundation.org. If you have a group that you think that you need a little inspiration, you know, definitely try to reach out to me, Chris Giraffe, chrisgiraffe.org. And the other thing is love the day, appreciate the day, and just enjoy it.
The gratitude. You're right. And decide to love it, right? Just decide to love the day.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. I really appreciate your spunk and your passion, and we need to get you on the world stage. Every day.
Hey, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll have you back again. We'll talk about setting something up again very soon. And I want to bless you and everyone. It was just so great to have Chris here, and I'm so glad you got to meet him for the first time, because he will be back, because he has so many messages to share. And you know, go to insightfulplayer.com and look at his story and look at his guiding principles. And if you could look at his guiding principles, that's something you could just tack up on your refrigerator or on a whiteboard or in your bathroom mirror, and I think it will really get you going every day and really help you expand your perspective. So we'll have him back, and Chris, thanks again, and thank you everybody for tuning in. And next week we're going to have Kevin Riley back, and he is going to share his story. His career ended early at the NFL because he had cancer, and he lost his shoulder, his arm, and several ribs, and he has one of those amazing get up and go attitudes, and you two would really make good friends, I think. If you know, I hope to introduce you sometime soon, Chris. I think he'd really appreciate you as well. So everybody have a great week, and
be great.
What is the? Go ahead. Yes, and so maybe you can leave our viewers with a challenge tonight. What would you like to leave our viewers with? Do you have a Chris Giraffe challenge? Empowering challenge?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, what is the challenge? I don't try to, it's never anything that's too big. If you have kids, make sure that you tuck them in, read to them, and let them know that you're proud of them. If you're looking at your wife and she's looking at you and her husband, make sure you appreciate them, and then if you got enough time and it's not too dark, you know, take a walk together, and say hey to your neighbors.
Wow, that's great tip. The quality of your relationships equals the quality of your life. No ifs, ands, or buts. So with those words, we'll sign off, and everyone have a great week, and just enjoy and love up all the people in your life. Thanks again. Have a great night, and thank you, Chris. Good night.